Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about the well, first of all, win the basketball game, no problem. Sweep
Yeah.
that. Going to Appalachian State, and they come out and they look good. Everything we talked about, senior night, they're not going to get another crack. UL Lafayette's going to go on and play for the championship with, I think, Coastal Carolina, I think they're
Yeah,
going to play,
it is. Yeah.
who beat BYU.
Yeah, I cashed with
which
them.
was like people don't understand. I mean, because obviously they're really not going to take a look at that conference because no one does, and no one saw the secret weapon that we had going for us in Appalachian State, which was the long snapper for UL Lafayette, who was the worst football player, the worst long snapper. At one point, when Appalachian State wasn't covering, I just started to think maybe the long snapper is Jimmy the Bag's friend because he snapped the ball over their kickers. How many times? Was it 5?
It's like he had just one giant right forearm. It was unbelievable. And at the end of the game there, and I know Zach Thomas had a bad game, but at the end of the game, when all they had to do was get a yard on fourth down, game over, they could punt it, but they were so afraid to punt it, ULF, because of this long snapper,
Yes.
that they ran it back into their own end zone for a safety. The quarterback turns around and runs 30 yards for a safety, and I was like, "Oh, we're still gonna catch this! I can't believe we're still gonna catch this."
He was keeping us in the game. That's why I thought the coach was probably going, "Hey, Alejandro, yes, do I do bad? Yes, you do very bad. But there's no way they could be. What are they? 9-1? Yeah, they're 9-1. There's no way this clearly wasn't the regular long snapper, because if that's the case, they're the greatest 9-1 team who's ever lived.
It was wild. I mean, that's college football for you, you know.
Oh, so tough. But otherwise, here on a Monday, what are you liking? What have you looked at? Because I know there's always lots in the bag world.
Oh yeah, and so we're 3-2 on the show. Went 1-1 on Friday. 3-2, up 0.81 units. ROI plus 16.20%, and we're coming off a giant Sunday. On the Friday show, I gave you 5 unders. Went 4-1 on them.
Yep.
Sweet.
4-1 on those unders. Saints Falcons under 46. A breeze. Giants Seahawks under 48, easy.
Yeah.
Rams Arizona under 48.5 was the loss. The Eagles Packers under. I got that on Tuesday at 46.5. It goes up to 49.5. That cashes, no problem. Patriots Chargers under 47. That was a wild game to still cash the under.
Yeah, right.
45-0 loss. It was just a glorious day. I made a giant mistake with the Chargers. I ended up adding the Chargers first half and full game late. If I hadn't have done that, it would have been a 10-1 day.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson under 280.5 pass yards. Colt McCoy under 219.5 pass yards. Who sets Colt McCoy's passing yards at 219? Colt McCoy had a great game, and he threw for 115 passing yards.
Yes. Yeah. For the Giants, for Jason Garrett, the game plan that you have probably does not include him passing for 200 and some odd yards.
Isn't that crazy?
It just wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been that.
How could somebody set that player prop? I was beside myself looking at 219.5 passing yards. It was only 60 less than the most valuable player, Russell Wilson.
Well, is this another friend of yours? Is this another Alejandro, I think?
Okay, Jimmy, for everybody listening right now, when you do these NFL picks, like the props you just said, when do you actually put that on your site or on your Twitter account where people are listening today going, well, you didn't say that to us on Friday. So when do you actually produce those football picks for NFL Sunday? Is it on NFL Sunday morning, or is it on the previous Saturday, or how does that work, just to give our listeners a guideline?
Sure. I have a show at 8 p.m. on Tuesday night with one of the best comedians in the country, Rob Bebenek, a great comedian, also great football analyst. And we do a show Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on odds.com. And we do another one on Sunday morning, a kickoff show at 11 a.m.
Gotcha.
So it is at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning when we usually add the prop bets. I mean, you can make them as soon as they come up. The books are pretty tight with them. They don't put them out too early.
Correct.
And they move. They have huge moves You know, they'll move 25, 30 yards. I had the Chris Carson. I had 3 props. I went 3-0. I had the Chris Carson over 58.5 rush yards. I never bet a prop on a player returning from injury. I need him to get through that first game. I have a couple rules with prop bets. One, I never bet a prop bet when returning from injury. The second is I never bet a prop after a career day from a player. I mean, if you
Right.
only bet unders after every career day, you'd have enormous success. In NBA, I bet every time a good player goes 0 for 12 or 0 for 13 from the field, I take the over on the prop the next game, and the ROI is enormous. I really simplify props because generally they come with more juice attached.
Right.
Minus
Right.
120 instead of minus 110 is huge. And if you think if you're betting on minus 110, you have to hit 52.6% to break even, 56% to turn a profit, really. If it's minus 120, the odds are stacked against you so much more. So props can be a lot of fun, but you have to be very careful when you're dealing with extra juice.
So coming up today, what is on the bag radar?
Today, I've this college card I broke down last night with Maxwell Smart, and it's difficult. I mean, he destroys these small schools and mid-majors, but we went through 10 games, and there was nothing that I've even gone to the window with. He's made a few moves, but I couldn't. I tried so hard to add college basketball play, but again, you don't force it. You just take what the league gives you. So I passed that. I'm on the Washington Football Club, and I'm concerned about the bet. What gave me confidence enough is that Pittsburgh seems to step up in divisional games. When they play out of their division, they don't seem to really put their foot down.
I agree.
The
I agree. Sometimes they play down to, I mean, the Dallas game was a great example. They tend to not crush those that seem crushable.
One of our biggest adversaries in handicapping and gambling is our biases. And we have a vividness bias and a recency bias. And they're both always in our subconscious, and they both hurt us badly. And there's lots of different books that aren't even gambling related that discuss those biases. The best one for me is a Michael Lewis book called The Undoing Project about these 2 Israeli psychologists. The first chapter is on basketball and Daryl Morey, and it's spectacular. But the whole book is about those biases. And what concerns me about backing Washington here is that we just watched Pittsburgh lay an egg against Baltimore when they should have stomped on them, and that concerns me. I know that's playing in my head, and that gives me pause. We also remember Thanksgiving night and Washington dominating the Cowboys, so that makes me uncomfortable. I did focus on the first half. I got Washington first half +4. That's not available anymore. So I've moved to Sports Interactions Washington first half, and right now at Sports Interaction I'm getting +3.5, which I'll take, a +3.5, and that's a -110 at Sports Interaction. For me right now, the defensive line for Washington is playing so well. You have Chase Young. It's all first-round picks. You have Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Darren Payne, Montez Sweat, 4 sacks against Dallas. They have 36. They're second in the league. Rob Bebenek, my partner in crime, he's taken the first half under. Now, he got a 22.5 that was available Sunday morning. That's down to 21. I'm not. I like the play. I'm not going to make it myself. Just Washington first half. I just see this as a Steelers team that's discombobulated. Their travel's all out of whack. Their practices are out of whack, and they have this rested Washington Football Club, whom I don't trust enough to take full game, but I like it. But first half, +3.5, -110. Sports Interaction will be my official play for the show.
Because that number dropped because they weren't sure when they were going to play this game, and at one time you could have had Washington in double digits. This morning you wake up and it's 6.5, which is a massive difference. It's almost like I'm talking about game pass. I'm not talking about a half pass, but 4 points within that time. It's like, wow, it's a pass for me today, Jimmy.
It's a pass. What are you guys doing with the late game Bills-Niners? Because we've seen this giant market move. I mean, at a lot of books here, especially the licensed legal books like Sports Interaction and Bet365, those, it opens at -3 for the Bills. Now the Niners are favorites.
Yeah. I got the Niners at +2.5. So I missed the 3. I wish I would have had the 3. I think the Niners actually win outright. I think the Niners can run against the Buffalo defense, because as much as we built up the Buffalo defense to be this awesome defense at the beginning of the year and so forth, they are leaky when it comes to run attacks. And I think the 49ers could take advantage of it, even though it's on a neutral field. See, that's another thing. It's on a neutral field as well, a little bit closer to San Francisco, of course, with the travel and all those concerns. But I'm going to look at some props this morning and see what I can hit on that.
I also think bit by bit, too, San Francisco has slowly got their roster back. I mean, you have to realize when they were stinking it out for the first, I don't know, month and a half, whatever it was, maybe longer, they barely had enough guys to actually put uniforms on. That was a really rough start. They slowly have got their team back, and I don't know. I think Buffalo going on the road like that, and look, I'm a Jake Allen guy. I like Jake Allen. I said, I talk about his story, even coming out of high school. But there's still something that's a little scary watching him play, and some of the decision making. It makes me a little nervous. And hey, some of that stuff you can get away with, and you look like Brett Favre, which is great. But it's really hard to do it all the time. To do it on the road against a San Francisco team that's starting to play better, if you got +2.5, I think that's the pick that I would have made.
I think it's a great spot. I mean, we look at this Niners team and think that they're, and they are getting healthier. They got Deebo Samuel back, which is a huge. I mean, he 133 yards receiving last game, but they're still without their starting quarterback, their star tight end in George Kittle. They're also without their superstar defensive pass rush in Nick Bosa. These guys aren't, coming back, and they have all these injuries in their secondary. Their cornerbacks are still so beat up. I mean, this is a team that was playing with injuries, like you were saying, all over the field, and they lose Jamar Taylor. He leaves on a cart. I mean, all these guys they come into the game ready to play. They leave on a cart. Ken Webster left on a cart in the fourth quarter. Those are 2 cornerbacks. They already have Kwan Williams out. Emmanuel Mosley questionable with a hamstring injury. Those are 4 cornerbacks right there. I can understand questioning the Bills, but at this point, at the Bills as a underdog, I could understand why someone would bet them. Their linebacking core is so fast. Watching AJ Klein last game, I was just like, this guy's unbelievable. 14 tackles. So I'm at this point, I've made no move on the game, and coming off a 10-3 Sunday that filled my bank account, I don't need to.
Yeah, you're gonna get your own helicopter or something. So I see no reason why you would even flirt with this now that you're so wealthy. I mean, there's probably models. You probably have supermodels now coming over tonight.
Oh, it's nonstop. The store
or Max.
Max, there's a difference. Max also is a well-known purveyor of women of the night.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, look, we're out of time once again, but that was awesome. Low bike picks on a Monday. We look forward to it. All great advice. We will get that out today. You can follow it later on Twitter. Dave, you want to get something in?
Yeah, we should tell our audience right now, Jimmy's going to join us back on Friday as well. So you're going to bookend the week for us perfectly on the Monday and the Friday, and we look forward to this. And Jimmy, good luck with your selections today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty simple for me. The only official raw Mike Richards pick is Washington Football Club and Dreamboat Ron Rivera.
Yes.
At +3.5 -110. First half +3.5 -110. And to all of you out there, get paid in full, get that cash. Best of luck to all of you. And David, Mike, thank you guys so much for having me.